Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be slightly mixing up. We're going to try doing 2 episodes at once for these 2 episodes and the following 2 episodes, just so we can try and catch up with ourselves because we've fallen so far behind with these. It's my fault. So to kick off, we're going to start with the episode Mirrors. We're still balls deep in the hunt for the progenitor stuff. The next clue leads them to it's some sort of it's a nebula to do with interdimensional space.
Yeah, I think it's interdimensional space, they call it, something like that.
And inside we have the ISS Enterprise.
Yes, which would have been a good reveal.
Well, yeah, if they hadn't put it in the trailer.
Yeah, and just completely, spoiled. It'd been like, oh, okay.
Yeah, even though it had already been revealed, I was quite excited for this one. Knowing that it was called Mirrors, that it was going to be a bit more, because I've enjoyed the Mirror Universe episodes to Discover Things, one of the things that they've nailed. I find out the next clue is on the Enterprise. In the interim, we had what I thought was kind of a weird scene with Culber and Tilly, where Tilly's like,
Yes.
yeah, where she's like, oh, is there something wrong? And he's like,
Yeah.
Which I waited and waited and waited for them to pick up on, and we'll be looping back to this right at the end of the episode because nothing else happened with it until at the last minute.
Yeah.
It's almost like they wrote themselves a B plot and then worked out, as this episode has a lot of flashbacks to other events.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it already has a B plot, but they'd written a B plot and then didn't quite know what to, how to slot it in.
Yeah.
So it felt a little clumsy, I have to admit. Book and Michael board the ISS Enterprise. Locke and Moll are already there at this point. Yeah, they've got there first.
One thing that annoys me about them two going over to the ship again is like, just take a security detail with you.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't even know what they're heading into. They don't know the ISS Enterprise is there.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find Locke's ship. Now, I know there's sort of been an argument of we don't antagonise them and everything, but doesn't hurt having them on the shuttle. It's like when they found the Enterprise, that could have been full of Terrans and all sorts of things that could have gone wrong over there.
Yeah.
And I'm just a bit like, really?
Yeah, no, you're quite right. They should have took a security detail. I don't. Again, I mean, it's going to come back up later on in what we're saying. I really don't feel that much chemistry between Michael and Book at all. I find their interactions really boring, if I'm honest. Quite tedious. Like I said, they got it right in the last episode where it was like a little snippet with them. I don't know, this whole episode with them, it kind of, I zone out a little bit with them, I have to admit.
Very dry at times, isn't it? Like there's just like they're trying to force it.
Yeah, there's just not, there just isn't any spark there. I don't feel, particularly now. I mean, maybe there was early on in their interactions, but particularly now, I feel like they've acknowledged it in the show that it's run its course, but it doesn't really help putting them together now. It's still quite boring. So Discovery can't communicate with them because of the interspatial bollocks. So you can tell I'm enjoying this one a lot. They did have a couple of callbacks to the previous Mirror episodes, didn't they? Because it's there's something about there being a mutiny by a Kelpian.
Yes, which drove me mad because I'm like, the last time we saw this ship, the ISS Enterprise, Spock had taken over. He was going to make a better place, Terran Empire, blah 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 blah. We have an opportunity to go on there and explore maybe that history and go, this is what happened. No, Saru has, well, they assume it's Saru, has ended up on that ship. And, somehow.
He's the only Kelpian, so of course.
But I just thought it's a great opportunity to talk about Mirror Spock again. And maybe even have like a graphic up on the screen, show him what he looks like, and obviously have a good opportunity to have Leonard Nimoy as well, just as a little tribute to him.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah. Bump into Moll and Locke, who are, well, not pleased to see them, let's put it at that. They have a bit of a tete-a-tete, and they end up separated but in different groups, don't they? So it's Moll and Book.
So they end up having to sort of work things out between them. He has a conversation with her, doesn't he, across the sort of ether of the void and the sick bay, and then they decide that they're going to help each other to help
Yeah,
them get out of there.
yeah. Um, and whilst Michael and Locke are together, we kind of get flashbacks to how we met Mole back on the Breen homeworld and who he is. And it turns out that he is uh, royalty.
Royalty, yeah,
Yeah.
like a prince, almost like a prince
Mm.
type thing, type thing.
Yep.
Um, which keeps flashing back and jumping backwards. I'd have rather that just been a segment, if that makes sense. I'd just have it as a massive segment within the episode. I'd be fine with
Mm.
it.
Yeah,
Um,
it did keep going back and back and back to it, didn't it? We finally got to see what a Breen looks like under the helmet, and that they have two faces. They have a kind of a solid face, and their face almost turns into like glass, doesn't it? Like clear
yeah,
green glass.
yeah, like a transparent glass. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel about finally? This is it. You finally get to see what a Breen looks like. One, did you want to know what a Breen looked like, and two, were you pleased with what they actually did look like?
I'm 50-50. I don't know what they look like. I quite like the thought, okay, that's fine. I expect them to look humanoid because they've got two arms, two legs. They're not like it's not like the Folians where they're crystallized species.
Hmm.
Um, do I think maybe they could have done something a little bit special with them? I don't know. It's one of them because they're so mysterious. The Breen,
Yeah. Well, that's
you
my
know,
that's my issue. I think I fall on the camp that I don't really think I ever really wanted to know 100% what they look like. What we got, I feel, is kind of mundane. I mean, I know they've added the glass aspect to it, but they kind of just look like green potatoes. Um, for me, I feel like it's lessened them. That Deep Space Nine built them up so much with this air of like, why are they hiding what they look like so much? Why are they so mysterious? And I don't know. I just don't feel like this paid it off.
I always thought like they were going to be like ice based,
Yeah,
type thing. So because obviously the way they said the refrigeration units keep them cool and everything, like some kind of that would have been cool,
yeah,
and that would be cool. That was the transparent part of them, like they are ice.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
I don't think just that they can go a bit transparent was enough for me. Moll is essentially, well, she's is supposed to be some sort of courier, but she's smuggling
yes,
on the
to
on the Breen homeworld, and yeah, kind of her and Locke start flirting, and he sees it as some way. I mean, he falls for her as well, but they see it as a way to get out of having to be a king. How's that working for you?
um. I mean, there's that like bit with her, and he's like he betrays all these people, as it were, and for his love for her. But I was just like, I was fine with them being a couple
Hmm.
all season. It's worked out well.
Yeah,
That hasn't been in your face.
yeah, I've liked it. I like that.
And but then they just used 10 minutes of screen time to force the issue.
Hmm.
They're a couple are big, and he loves her that much. He's willing to betray his people and show his true face. The showing his true face bit was enough for me. I mean, I'd have just had him run away really, rather than having to fight his people. I just thought it was a bit too.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough build up to that. They kind of showed him in one scene, yeah, and then in the next one he's stabbing people for her. It wasn't for me really helped by again Mole's performance is not the best. She's from the school of look upwards like this and shake your head and over enunciate, and that's her thing. That's what she does for everything, and I'm like, I'm not threatened. This episode, like you said, for them it kind of fell apart. I think the more you focus on them, the less I got from them. But yeah, I know you quite like her though, don't you?
Yes, and the longer,
Yep, there we
get
go.
longer
So
out.
this is the balance. I'm not a fan. He's a fan. So that's cool. um, oh god, my next note here is great. So I'm going through my notes because this was 3 weeks ago, but I did make notes as we were watching it. And my note after talking about this section was, God, this is boring. So they lose the Discovery shuttle, which was predictable. I sat there and went, they are so piloting the ISS Enterprise out of this, and it's going to be this is what we're going to have to do, and it's going to be so surprising, and it wasn't. Um, but yeah, I was impressed that they managed to make piloting a Constitution class ship relatively unexciting. I thought that was
We
that was.
we've jumped. Have we jumped over a tad bit? Is that
Possibly, I may have fallen asleep.
because obviously Michael's on the bridge by that point, isn't she? When they start piling it out,
That's probably why I fell asleep.
because she has a fight with Locke, doesn't she?
Oh god, yeah, I forgot about that. She has a fight with Locke and almost kills him. Oh yeah, that thing happened. I didn't even write it down. It's okay. It won't come back up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was like, we need to mention that.
Yeah, that wound never mentioned again. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, she wounds him. Moll's very angry and was extremely convincing at being angry in every way. Oh my.
And she obviously escapes back to sorry, escapes with Locke
Mhm.
to a Terran attack fighter or something like that. It just this whole plot again of, well, hold on, we're stuck on a ship, but somehow then Moll and Locke managed to find a way off the ship.
Yeah, I couldn't actually tell you how they got away at the end. I looked up and they'd escaped, and I was
Yeah,
like, oh, that happened.
I'm sure it's called a Terran attack fighter or something. It's basically a shuttlecraft.
Right. That was convenient. Um, so yeah, they managed to pilot the ship out. As you said, Moll and Locke managed to escape.
Yeah, there's some great Rainer and Adira scene
Yeah.
where she's on the bridge,
Yes.
and like, if you want to be on the bridge, you know,
Yeah, I forgot about that. So that was actually one of the highlights was
yeah,
her nervousness about being on the bridge, and he actually behaves like a captain.
yeah,
And yeah, sorts that. I wish again that more screen time had been given to that plot. I mean, you get quite there. It's quite often in Star Trek that we would get a B plot that was more interesting than the A plot, and that was fine. But I don't think that even classified as enough screen time to be a B plot.
yeah.
I
This is in there.
I had zoned out by this point in the episode. I was literally watching it like this. That was how I was watching it. At this point, my brain had turned to mush by this point. So yeah, they should have devoted way more time to that scene because again, any scene with Rayner seems to be
Yeah,
engaging. You can tell he's a. I mean, mean with it. Oh, screw it. I'm going to be mean with it. He's a better actor than anybody else in the show. I'm just going to say it. For me, I think he's better than anybody else in Discovery currently in the cast because Saru's gone. He's not on the bridge.
yeah. Oh well, yeah. That's the case. I say Doug Jones.
Yeah,
Okay.
Doug Jones isn't here at the moment, so this is it. I mean, he's one of the other AWOL members, along with Detmer and well, most of the bridge crew seem to have just poof disappeared. Well, that's right, because I was annoyed that we didn't see Bryce after he mentioned how much he loved Constitution ships,
Yeah,
and there's one here, and he's not in the
perfect.
freaking episode.
Yeah, perfect opportunity to have them.
It's
Yeah, I
really
know.
weird scheduling choices this year. So yeah, we got back to the Culber plotline in the last 2 seconds of the episode, where he kind of randomly brought up the fact that he died, but that was, he died in series 1 and came back in series 2. Been a
Yeah,
while since I remember it. Just seems odd him bringing that up now as if it's like a trauma thing. Although I think later on, as we know, it's tied to his joining earlier this series, isn't it? I think it's just a shame it didn't get any airtime this episode because when it first was teased early on, I thought, oh, that's cool. We're going to get some stuff with Culber and Tilly, and we didn't. We just got ages with Book and Michael, who I'm bored senseless with, and Locke and Moll, who again I'm losing interest minute by minute that we see more of them. So that was a disappointment for me because again I've not seen a massive amount of them interacting. So that's the general plot of the episode, is it not? I feel. Is there
yeah.
anything else you want to cover on it before? Because I think if we go to ratings, then we can actually say what we thought about this episode. So, do you want to go first with your rating, or shall I
I'll go first.
do it?
Um, I'm going to obviously lights. I'm going to go 2.5.
That's lower than I thought for you.
It wasn't the worst episode in the world. It wasn't the best episode in the world. It's still better than a lot of older Discovery episodes. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the ISS Enterprise. I do think it was a waste of that and the decisions they made. Obviously, like I say with Saru, staging a mutiny and taking over the ship. I'd have liked a more traditional lore of Spock. Why do we need to suddenly make the Discovery crew the important ones
Mm-hmm.
on the Enterprise? So, yeah, it's middle of the road for me.
Yeah,
Which is ironic because it's episode 5
that is
out of
it.
10.
Yeah. I think my rating, I'm going to go with a 2 out of 5 with this one. I just thought this was such a wasted opportunity. It felt to me like it was just an excuse to reuse the Strange New World sets and do very little with them. This was the one I was really, to be fair, it's probably expectation as well. This is the episode I was really looking forward to this year. As soon as I saw the title, I thought Mirror Universe brilliant. As soon as we saw the ISS Enterprise in the trailer, I thought, oh, fantastic, this is going to be so good. And we got an empty ship. Half the episode was flashbacks to Mullen Locke's history and shit tons of Booker and Michael just mourning over the corpse of their relationship again. And I was just so fucking bored for most of it. I totally disengaged to the point that, as you can see, I stopped writing notes at a certain point. It was just a waste. They could have done so much with it, and instead they just did the most basic plot imaginable. It wasn't awful, like you said, but I don't know. It almost felt like an AI written plot.
Yeah, it was a bit lackluster.
The character moments that were there didn't engage me, which is always going to be the main failing, particularly in a show like Star Trek where character is so important. So yeah, I don't really have anything more to say on it because I don't really feel that much about it. But it could have been any ship. I think that was my issue. I got to the end and I was like, that could have been any derelict. It didn't have to be the ISS Enterprise because it added absolutely nothing to the story at all. I think that pretty much sums up everything with this episode. So yeah, we should probably move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Which was called Whistle Speak.
So speak, yeah.
This one was more of a traditional, even for Discovery, well, particularly for Discovery, I should say, more of a traditional Star Trek episode.
Yes, we got traditional story.
We did. So in analysing the vial, they find that it is distilled water, as you said. So they begin looking for water-starved worlds from 800 years ago.
Yep.
She has a quick meeting with David Cronenberg, whose name I can't remember in the show, but he's David Cronenberg, so, who kind of puts her on the right track. But I thought there's a bit early in this episode, right, which I find Discovery does this quite a bit, right, where they'll have something and it will literally be used as something disposable, but when you actually think about it, it's a really interesting concept that they could run with and would probably make a more interesting episode or an interesting concept that they've got. I'm referring to Culber's holographic grandmother that's been plucked out of his head based on his memories.
Right.
And they could have done something similar. I feel like they could have. I mean, I'm going off right off on a tangent there, but they could have done something like Hollow Pursuits, the one where Barclay becomes addicted to the holodeck. Because I thought how fantastic but terrifying a technology is it that you can pluck a memory out of your head and it can recreate someone almost entirely based on your memories, and how do people ever let go with that technology being there? If someone's died and you can just literally just pluck them out of your own memory and have them with you, and that's not even the plot. They just kind of used it.
I understand that is unique to Discovery because it's Zora.
Is it Zora that's doing it?
Yeah, he's working with Zora to create it. So, she plucks the memories out, but I don't think they've got the computing power anywhere else.
But yeah, I thought, how did the crew not become addicted to that technology, even the Discovery crew?
Yeah, she could go back to any point in time. I think. Just want to jump back to COVID now a second.
Go for it.
Because I think I did mention it to you previously. Don't you think that all these scenes are very striking of Tapestry, where Q's in a big room, or the Prophets when Cisco are usually in a big white room? I'm just thinking, I think it's going to be a little reveal on him or twist on him. He just seems. I did think, and it would be really funny if he turns out to be Q.
But yeah, sorry, I know I went off on a tangent, but when that popped up, I was sat there and thought, that's a really good thing they could use for an episode. And it's pretty much nothing. It's just him working out. Well, it's not nothing. It's him working through his problems that he mentioned in the last episode. But I thought, what a great sci-fi concept. I thought there's nothing more Discovery than having a great science fiction concept and doing nothing with it and going off on the tangent. Back on track, sorry, with the water. So they find the habitable region where it rains on pretty much one world. So that's kind of the one that they zone in on and find that it rains thanks to there's like some masts on the planet that keep um, the poor dusty environment out. But there were several, but only one of them is currently working.
Yes, but I did like as well. We got a little call to a Denoblian as well, because it was Denoblian scientists
Yes.
that did a nice little shout out to
Yeah.
to Denoblians.
Yep. So they beam down to the planet. Michael and Tilly beam down to the planet, and they find that the tower is it hidden in the mountain?
Yeah, I think obviously because that's one of the things they say, don't they? So they don't know how they managed to do that back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're
And
relatively primitive technology, aren't they?
yeah, so they said how they managed to do that 800 years ago and put these weather stations around the planet on there.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the fact that in them beaming down, the transporter now does all the making them look like the species and stuff. Like I thought that was quite neat.
Oh, I never noticed that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they have eye corders.
I cautious, yeah.
Yeah, um, which look cool. They look kind of like Detmer's eyes. Sometimes when they use them. That's at the retinal tricorder, which I kept
Yeah.
hearing rectal, and thought this episode is going to be really something different. It really, really is. We did get the Prime Directive is heavily featured in this one.
Yeah, non-interference, all that sort of stuff.
It's been a while.
Of in a little bit of Who Watches the Watchers.
Yeah.
Because they're down the planet, they're trying not to interfere, but they've got to.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then they go off and meet. They bump into this group, don't they? Because they're traveling through, they don't know the way. So they bump into these people.
Yep.
Who are on this journey. The pilgrimage, isn't it? It's a pilgrimage tower. They worship this tower because they believe that if we don't, then the rain
will
stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them suffering from she's been out past the shield and she's got dust on her lungs, and they are taken in by a colony essentially that has a I don't know if the Doctor's their leader, but he's definitely high up on their.
I got the thought that they were like religious clerics.
Yeah, and they make friends with. I was going to say, up until the end of the episode, that it is the Doctor's daughter. Later on in the episode, they're referred to with they pronouns. So
yeah, it doesn't come till right at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so, I get what you mean.
but I don't know. I never wrote down their name, so I don't know how to refer to them other than as his daughter. But obviously, if it's they, it's not necessarily going to be daughter. So. Apologies. So Michael and Tilly. Oh yeah, to get back to the whistle speaker, the title. It's not really used that much, is it? So they hear the natives whistling, and that's how they find the caravan that's travelling on the pilgrimage, essentially. And it's a form of communication that they use, but pretty much from this point on in the episode, they just talk.
Yeah, and I think because obviously Michael collapses, doesn't she? When they're fixing her, and then she wakes up, like you say, realise that they've got this.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's where she is, the whistling and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, and then they end up on the final sort of leg of the pilgrimage, down to the, I'm going to call it the mountain, but obviously the weather control station.
Yeah.
And they talk about, again, I've got it wrote down, obviously, one of the ritual is of them racing up the mountain.
That's right, which they think is how they're going to get to the temple, because you can't go to the temple because it's a holy place. However, if you win the race, you're allowed into the temple because that's your reward. Yeah. So they enter it, where they they eat what is basically, it looked like a dice.
Yes, it does. Yes,
is what I thought. Oh, they're going to eat a dice. That's great.
It just completely just dries out.
Yeah, completely dries them out, and then they're not allowed to drink, but they attempted. At various points as they're running the race, and they're like water just being left on like plinths, and if you drink from the water, you're out the race. So as they're running the race, Michael spots the fact that there is moss that is a different colour to other moss.
It seems it's radioactive, doesn't it, because of the control
Yeah.
system. Yeah, which I've got to say, I did love these little moments
Yep.
with her and Tilly because it was that whole thing of, and it took me back to, in fairness, a bit of character growth because I remember the episode in season one where they're doing laps of the ship, aren't they? And she's saying if you want to be
Yeah.
a command training provider, and back then she's like, you're going to be able to do this and that, and it just took me back to that. I thought, I thought sort of come full circle.
No, you're right with that. They were quite good together in early years. That's I think again that's another reason why I slightly resent Book being there because since Book's been in the show, that's who Michael's interacted with more than anyone. To the detriment of this, and seeing them back together again, Tilly and Michael was fun.
Yeah, and like I say, Tilly does bring some great comic relief to scenes as well, which I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Michael follows the mutated moss from the radiation and finds kind of like a junction box hidden, essentially that can. She repairs the mast, doesn't she? Because the mask is breaking, or she finds out they need to get that the mast is breaking.
They reboot it, don't they? They get like a reboot.
Yeah. Oh, I think actually we may have slightly screwed up.
With the Adira
Yeah,
thing.
it was in this episode.
Yeah. So
Not
yeah,
in the previous one, wasn't it? I've just got to on my notes and I'm like, oh, I did write this bit down.
it occurred to me as well, just literally. I was like, oh, that scene, and then I was like, oh yeah, well, who was Elton on the Brit? Oh,
Yeah. So while Michael's doing this, Tilly continues to running the race.
yes,
And she reaches it's her and them. Yeah. That are left. And they have to carry water. That's it, isn't it? They're given water that they then have to
the last hurdle, aren't they? Yeah,
carry. So when that character drops their water, it looks like Tilly's shoe in. She's going to win. She's still got hers. She goes back and gives some of her water, yeah, to them to carry, and so they finish the race together,
yeah,
which means that they are both allowed to go into the temple. Essentially,
yeah.
yeah. So Tilly enters the temple, can't seem to find the clue, but the temple closes around them, and she rapidly begins to realise that the winner's prize is that they are sacrificed in order to keep the rain falling.
Yeah.
So the room is part of a machine that makes rain, and it's going to basically purge all the air at the room, so they're going to suffocate.
Yes.
I think is how it works. Yeah. So Michael has a tough decision to make. So she has to decide whether or not she's going to break the Prime Directive, and in order to get there as quickly as possible, or not. And we all know which way she goes. She of course chooses to break it and beam in there. What do you think about that?
I feel like any other captain would have done it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, Trek's lineage of captains that we've got. I do think they would have.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people would probably say, "Oh, it's typical Michael. She's going to do that." But like you've said,
so yeah, and obviously she reveals herself, doesn't she? To
yeah, the healer.
yeah,
And she tries to explain that the temple is a machine, but he doesn't really believe her. I don't think, as her talks about it.
Isn't she on comms?
She's on comms, yeah.
And Burnham saying she's saying, "Oh, I can hear them,"
Mm-hmm.
and still the only way she then convinces him is by because obviously she can just say, "Oh, well, I can hear them," and he's like, "Yeah, whatever."
Yes, something that only they would know.
Yeah.
So Michael copies the lullaby that she hums, which convinces him, and he immediately this is one thing that made me laugh, considering he wouldn't believe that the temple had anything to do with technology or anything else. He then immediately goes and pulls what is blatantly an extremely obvious technological lever that he yanks that turns everything off. So I'm like, you already knew. So anyway, they turn off the machine. They save his child and Tilly. They see the etchings on the wall. They realise that one of them matches what's written on the vial of water, and it's Tower 3, and they're in Tower 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, slight issue I had with this is they finally work it out, and it happens off screen. We never see them go to Tower 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we kind of blipped through the whole thing quite quickly. But I think that's probably because there wasn't a massive amount wrong with it either.
No, it was a very traditional Star Trek episode. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Nice to see a world.
True. Um, so, are we okay to go to ratings? It's going to be my turn, isn't it, as well, first?
Indeed, yes.
Okay. So, I'm going to rate this one a 3.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
3 out of 5 in lights. 5, not 4. Purely because I appreciate the fact that it was a proper Star Trek episode. It dealt with proper Star Trek themes. I think my only negative is it was kind of like a middling episode of traditional Star Trek. For me, if this felt like an episode of Voyager, and for me it would have felt like a very average episode of Voyager. So I kind of feel like I have to compare it in that respect. Again, nothing wrong with it. I just don't think it particularly excelled in anything. But it was nice to see them go back to this kind of episode, this kind of structure.
Yeah.
I wish they'd do it more.
It's funny you say compare it to Voyager, because I do think sometimes the last average episodes of Voyager are probably the best, better episodes than anything of Discovery.
Oh yeah.
But so so it's done something right to get that sort of
Hmm.
praise. So yeah, to be honest, I'm pretty similar to you with my rating. I was going to go 3 as well. Sort of better than last week's. It was a traditional episode.
Hmm.
It's not there with the couple of episodes previously that we've had, but I've given them 4. So yeah, it was 3.5, but I think I agree with you.
Yeah. We united. So I think that pretty much covers it for this one. So we will be back soon, and we're going to be covering 2 episodes in our next episode as well, for another bumper one. And hopefully you will join us in that one. We will see you in the next one. Bye.
You've got a security detail. I know they didn't want to like, antagonise them, but take them on the shuttle with you. Have some backup.
Cat
They
break.
literally, could have got on that ship. It could have been full of Terran. And I'm like,
Sorry, I think my cat is talking on the microphone.
oh.
Can you hear her? See? Cat. Cat break.